Okay, so for part B, we are given a second line, L2. This is the vector equation of that line. And we already have L1 from part A. It then says, find the possible values of A. So this is A here that we're trying to find. When the acute angle between L1 and L2 is 45 degrees. Okay, so first thing to note, guys, when we are talking about angles between lines or vector equations of lines or lines in 3D, when we have the vector equation, we care about the direction vector. This, let's call it D1, direction vector 1, and this is D2. For this part of the question, I'm not even going to use this, the position vector. I'm not even going to use this. I'm not even going to use lambda or t. I just care about the direction vector, and I care about the angle between the two direction vectors. Second thing to note, we have a formula. So the formula for the angle between two vectors is in the formula booklet. It's v dot w over magnitude of v times magnitude of w. This is in the formula booklet. Next thing, we know theta. They give us theta is 45 degrees. The thing I don't know is the a, and that will become part of the equation, and that's what I have to find. V is just, let's call it the direction vector 1. That's my 2, 1, negative 1. W is the other one, a 1, negative 1. And this is all divided by the magnitude of this times the magnitude of this. Okay, the magnitude is the square root of this squared plus this squared plus this squared. 2 squared plus 1 squared. It's technically plus negative 1 squared, but guys, I always just go straight to 1 squared because when you square the negative, it becomes positive. And then I'll continue this. I get another one. This squared, a squared plus 1 squared plus 1 squared. Okay. Now, I know, guys, I know what the cos of 45 degrees is, and you should too. It is 1 over root 2, or root 2 over 2 if you prefer, but it's the same thing. The dot, I should have put a dot there. The dot product is this times this plus this times this plus this times this, which is 2 times a, 2a, plus 1 times 1 is 1, plus negative 1 times negative 1, which is plus 1 again. Okay, divided by. This is 4 plus 1 plus 1 is 6. So this is just root 6. And then this is a squared plus 1, which is a squared plus 2. A squared plus 2. Okay, my next step, guys, I think is to cross multiply. So I'm going to do root 6. I'm going to do root 6 times root a squared plus 2 equals root 2 times 2a plus 2. Just because 1 plus 1 is 2. So this times this equals this times this. Okay, now I'm trying to find a, but I've got the square roots here, and I have an a in the square root. Bit of a problem. What do? I square both sides. By squaring both sides, I will remove the square root. Remember to square everything. So root 6 squared is 6. Root a squared plus 2 squared is a squared plus 2. Root 2 squared is 2. This thing squared is 4a squared plus 8a plus 4. Guys, if you don't know how to square this, well, just make sure you figure it out. But that's what it is. This becomes 6a squared plus 12. And then this is, in fact, guys, you could probably divide by 2 here, make your life a bit easier. This goes once, this goes 3 times. So now I have 3a squared plus 3a squared plus 6 equals 4a squared plus 8a plus 4. Okay, I'm going to move over to here. So 4a squared minus 3a squared is a squared. 8a is just here, plus 8a. And then 4 minus 6 is minus 2. This equals 0. So I've just brought everything to the right and switched it around. This equals this. Hopefully you're all okay with that. This doesn't factorize because 2 times 1 is 2 and I need 8. It doesn't factorize, so I'm going to use the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is a equals. Now just slightly confusing, guys. We've a as our variable here, and part of the quadratic formula has an a in it. Don't get mixed up there. Obviously, like the a in the quadratic formula is just going to be 1 because it's 1a squared. If you really struggle with this, just call that x. So it's just x squared plus 8x minus 2 equals 0. Anyway, I'll assume we're all okay with that. A is equal to minus b, that's just minus 8, plus or minus the square root of b squared, 64, that's 8 times 8, minus 4ac. So that's actually minus 4 times 1 times minus 2, which is actually plus 4 times 2 is 8, all over 2. Okay, nearly done. This is minus 8 plus or minus the square root of 72. The square root of 72, well, let's just write it down here, over 2. This is equal to minus 8 plus or minus the square root of 72 is actually root 36 times root 2, because 36 times 2 is 72. Then this is equal to minus 8 plus or minus 6 root 2, 6 root 2 all over 2, and now I can divide by 2, minus 4 plus or minus 3 root 2. The question said find the possible values of a when the acute angle between L1 and L2 is 45 degrees. These are the possible values for a. Minus 4 plus 3 root 2 and minus 4 minus 3 root 2.